Man, I have no idea how to review this game. On the one hand, if I'm completely honest with you, this is going to be dislike bombed into oblivion.
I mean, why is it going to be disliked bombed into oblivion? As long as your criticism about the game remains fair and objective, people should respect your review and give you a thumbs up anyways. It's not like you're going to be disingenuous or blatantly lie to your audience about this game, right, Synthetic Man?
But at the end of the day, I would rather be as honest as humanly possible.
Alright, that sounds fair. I'll take your word for it. What is up everyone, this is Mabel HQ, the Pro Gamer, and I'm back with another God of War video. Today's video is very special, and when I say special, I mean it. To sum it up, there is this guy called Synthetic Man who is some kind of pseudo-contrarian hardcore gamer wannabe that makes extremely cringy and mediocre reviews about video games and TV shows, and today we're gonna be taking a look at his most recent God of War Ragnarok review. So yeah people, get ready to bear witness to a humongous amount of cringe, projection, and overall stupidity. Quick disclaimer before we start though, I did some research on this guy while making this video. I watched some of his content like videos and streams, and also saw the way he usually interacts with his viewers, and all I can say is that this guy is kind of a lolcow. He's unhinged, really toxic, and incapable of taking criticism whatsoever. Not to mention that he comes across as some kind of weirdo that hates women and black people. So yeah, I'm going no filters on this dude.
Half of this game is either watching a cutscene, walking in a straight line, or engaging in one of the game's many hidden loading screens, whether that be rowing a boat, riding a giant yak, climbing a wall, shit we've seen 1,000 times, and it gets old.
Alright, hold on, there is a lot to address here. Okay, so first, about the cutscenes. It's true that the cutscenes in this game can be pretty long and they are not skippable, which can be pretty annoying for subsequent playthroughs. I'm not gonna lie, I think not being able to skip the cutscenes sucks, but hey, in God of War 2018 they made them skippable on New Game Plus, meaning that you would only have to watch them once and then you would be able to skip them. And they are most likely going to do the same with this game once they add the New Game Plus, so yeah, that's that. Now second, the boats and traversal sections are loading screens? What? What are you talking about? The boats are there for exploring purposes and the traversal sections give variety to the pacing of the game. If those weren't there, the game would be an endless loop of just fighting and walking. This criticism makes no sense. And yeah, there are also those walking sections like the one with Angrboda and the Yak that are in fact terrible, but those sections are at best only a 5% of the game. But yeah, Synthetic Man, ignoring the cutscenes that are not skippable at the moment, saying that a 50% of the game is just walking or loading screens is plain false.
Now I remember back when God of War 2018 came out that it was pretty controversial, this change in direction. The biggest change obviously being the over-the-shoulder camera, which is still annoying even in this game, honestly.
Okay, but would you mind explaining why the camera is annoying?
But you do get used to it eventually.
No? Alright, I see how it is. The camera in this game is completely fine, dude. Matter of fact, it's one of the best third-person action cameras I've seen in a while, but whatever. Let's complain for the sake of complaining and not give any reasons as to why you are complaining. No better way to criticize something than that, I guess.
It does take a while to get going. For some reason, they pulled a Metroid with this game, and Kratos just mysteriously has lost almost all of his abilities and gear from the last game. And so the game kind of feels afraid to give you all of the combat mechanics until about 10 hours in.
So now you are complaining that you don't have all the combat skills from the previous game at the beginning of this one? Dude, do you realize that every weapon in the previous game had like 20 different skills by the time they were fully upgraded? Not to mention that they also added like 20 new skills for every weapon in this game too? Having access to all that from the get-go in this game would be ridiculously overwhelming for new players and players that haven't played the last game in a while. That would be such a terrible decision for the pacing of the game, and this is also such a common thing in any type of video game. In fact, I can't even think of a single game with a sequel that starts you with everything from the previous game from the beginning. Like, what the hell are you thinking, Synthetic Man? Games need to have a sense of progression, and let's be honest here, it's not like you actually care about the combat mechanics in this game to begin with. But don't worry, we're gonna come back to this later, just you wait.
Now, I will say the parry feels pretty weak until your starting shield gets repaired, and then you actually get invincibility frames on the riposts. But before that point, I was very disappointed in the parry. Against mini-bosses and bosses, you would actually have to parry them multiple times in the same combo just to stop the onslaught, which was honestly infuriating.
Okay, so he's saying that this shield here, the Guardian Shield, is good because it gives you invincibility when parrying, and the other shields are kinda worthless to the point of being infuriating, which is ridiculous. Like, yeah, them items on the Guardian Shield are good, but there are many other shields that reward you in different ways. Like the one he's using here. Look at the amount of stun damage that this thing is doing. When you feel the stun meter on a boss or mini-boss, it gives you a chance to deal huge damage to the enemy. Not everything needs to have items to be good, Synthetic Man.
Nicely done.
And yeah, the irony here is that this is something that you are taught at the very beginning of the game. Yet this guy complains that you start with too little when he can't seem to be able to understand the very basics of the game. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about, dude?
So eventually you get a third weapon, a spear that can generate infinite copies of itself, and you can detonate those spears on triangle. I actually really enjoyed this weapon. Now when you first get it, it doesn't have any abilities, so it kind of feels like shit, which completely ruined the moment.
Dude, the game literally walks you through a 10-minute tutorial on how to use the spear, and then it gives you a very generous experience boost so you can unlock the skills on the spear. Not to mention that you should already have lots of experience saved by that point in the game. So if you don't have enough experience to unlock the new stuff right away, that's on you for not exploring and not doing the side quests, pal.
The mini-bosses, on the other hand, are a mixed bag. Some of them are pretty great. Some of them, like the Hateful, are just fucking annoying to fight, have random unblockable moves that make no sense. The fucking God of War can't block a random fire skeleton's X-swing. My immersion is destroyed.
Okay, this is where this review starts falling apart and becoming a brain damage inductor. This is such a nitpick and ridiculous criticism. First of all, those unblockable attacks from the Hateful are not random. They are telegraphed very clearly and you can dodge them just fine if you learn his attack patterns. Second, what do you mean your immersion is destroyed? There are many games with over-the-top lore that would be impossible to translate into gameplay, God of War being one of them. Not to mention that there is a whole side quest and bunch of lore behind this specific enemy that you are complaining about, but whatever, let's ignore all that and say that it's just a random enemy, of course. This is pretty much the equivalent of complaining that Atreus and Freya never ran out of arrows, or that the Kratos' beard doesn't get lit up on fire when he is using his Blades of Chaos. Like, imagine making a video game review and having these ludicrous arguments as your criticism. Holy shit! And let's also be real here, Synthetic Man. You don't care about immersion. You literally use spirit summons in Elden Ring to cheese all the boss fights. You let your summon take all the aggro while you run away and hit the boss from behind. What kind of immersion are you getting from that? And as a matter of fact, I don't see you complaining about that.
Mimic fucking dominating. Stun lock her into oblivion. That is fun.
Like, the double standards here are hilarious. So how about you stop being such a fucking hypocrite?
In the first Berserker fight, which is mandatory by the way.
That's not the first Berserker boss fight, by the way. And no Berserker is mandatory, by the way. Did you really play this game? I'm actually starting to question that.
Has way too much fucking health. Oh yeah, and I was bumped down to normal at this point too. When I finally managed to beat him, I think it took me 3 straight minutes of dodging and countering the same 4 attacks over and over again to actually whittle down his health bar. It doesn't help that filling the stun meter doesn't give you a free execution type of attack on him. It just opens him up to damage for a few seconds. At least the other Berserkers are end game optional bosses that you can come back and fight when you have better gear. They intentionally designed this first one to take this long to kill with only 4 fucking attacks.
Have to feel the callus. Tremble, false god! Fall before me! Fall before me! Tremble, false god!
Oh, Synthetic Man, you're so full of crap. I actually recorded that clip on a save without doing any side quests or exploring, so I was missing a lot of stuff and upgrades on that fight. Like, how poorly do you have to be playing to take almost 3 minutes to defeat this boss on normal difficulty? I actually went to this guy's stream to see how this dude plays, and I have to say I was surprised. But for the wrong reasons.
It happened off stream. Okay. So I almost died in 2 hits. That's good to know.
Fall before me!
You early fuck.
Fall before me!
Damn it. I had it right the first time.
Fall before me! Tremble, false god!
Fuck.
I won't stop!
Damn it.
Jesus Christ, what is this gameplay? Remember this guy complaining earlier that the game gives you too little stuff at the beginning? Well, by this point he's already like 20 or 30 hours into the game and he should have all the weapon arts and skills unlocked, but he can't even do a proper combo with the Leviathan axe. Like a simple basic combo. He's just mashing R1 and R2 like a monkey. How am I supposed to take this review seriously? And what's even wrong with a 3-minute boss fight? That sounds like a pretty reasonable time for me. It's like this dude expects every tough encounter in the game to be over in 20 seconds. Like, I don't understand why this guy isn't playing on Give Me a Story if he wants every fight to be over in less than a minute with the way he plays. This dude is just horrible at this game. He doesn't even understand how the stand meter on bosses work, and he complains that the boss only uses the same attacks over and over, which is bullshit. This boss literally gets extended attack patterns when his health bar is down to the middle to spice up the fight, so he's either being ignorant or disingenuous about this.
Now, of course, I do think the combat does have some flaws, just like everything has flaws, so I'll just bring up the few that I think are significant enough to drag down the experience. The first issue I'll get into is the enemy variety, as this was something the developers actually praised about this game, and it feels completely unearned because guess what? They reused almost every enemy type from the first game. And I mean exact same animations and attacks.
Yeah guys, God of War Ragnarok sucks because it reuses enemies from the first game. Neo 2 sucks because it reuses enemies from the first game. Gears of War 2 sucks because it reuses enemies from the first game. Halo 2 sucks because it reuses enemies from the first game. Doom Eternal sucks because it reuses enemies from the first game. Yeah, so what? For every enemy that is reused in this game, there are 2 new ones. And you can stop lying anytime now, Synthetic Man. Most enemies that are reused from the previous game have new attack patterns or new attacks altogether. At this point, I feel like this guy is just desperately trying his hardest to find anything to bitch about. This is so sad.
I feel like a lot of the new enemy types are just kinda lame, like generic Viking raiders on Midgard, or the Asgard warriors, which are all zombies. The frog enemies that surprisingly show up in like 3 different realms.
That's just your personal and subjective opinion on the matter, my dude. I think all the designs are alright. It's good being able to fight something your size from time to time. If you were just fighting giant or monster type enemies all the time, it would become monotone.
And a lot of the ones that aren't lame visually anyway, are actually very annoying to fight, like the new Light Elf variant that's a samurai, or the Asgard warrior who has a Bifrost pick and a hammer.
Welcome to God of War, motherfucker. That's literally the beauty of these games. All the enemies represent a threat. They all have some kind of feature or move that is meant to piss you off, but at the same time, the game gives you all the tools that you'll ever need to defeat them. The odds are always balanced in this game, even on the hardest difficulty. I mean, we have already established that you just don't know how to use those tools, so...
These motherfuckers can attack at lightning speed and have unblockable moves, or moves you have to parry, and can dodge out of the middle of combos, shit like that just makes them not very fun to engage with unless you're spamming runic attacks.
Wow, dude, a heavy enemy that is meant to be more dangerous and difficult to defeat than regular enemies is actually more dangerous and difficult to defeat than regular enemies. What a surprise! It's like the game wants to be challenging and, you know, actually use the combat mechanics that you complain so much about not having at the beginning of the game. Like, holy shit, is this guy really complaining about an enemy having attacks that you have to dodge or parry? And that the enemy doesn't just stand idle waiting for you to kill it? Like, seriously, what kind of video games does this guy play? Like, I still don't understand. Why isn't he playing on easy mode if having a basic understanding of combat mechanics in an action game is so much for him? Like, I honestly just don't get it. I don't get it, Synthetic Man. Explain this to me.
And for my last major criticism of the combat, let's talk about hard mode somewhat briefly.
Oh my god. Why is this guy playing on hard mode?
As tempting as it is to talk about this in length, because I unfortunately played about 2/3 of the game on hard mode, or Give Me No Mercy, it's a waste of time because most people will never play it on hard, and trust me, it's a mistake.
I actually played it on very hard and it wasn't a mistake. I had a great time. You being terrible at video games doesn't equal those games being poorly designed or balanced. So yeah, I'm not trusting you, and do me a favor and take those projections somewhere else.
I finally figured out what hard mode really does. It gives every enemy in the game super armor. Yes, even basic enemy types. So my original recording for this combat section was actually much more negative than this, because I was very annoyed by the fact that every single enemy would either dodge out of the middle of your combo or attack straight through the motherfucking God of War's X swings to the chest. I just figured it was a normal gameplay mechanic that only heavy attacks and runic attacks would actually stun the enemy, because I don't think I've ever encountered a hard mode that introduces super armor. What a horrible fucking idea.
Oh, for fuck's sake, not this again. So your problem with the hard mode is that the enemies become more aggressive and they are harder to kill because they just don't stand still doing nothing waiting for you to hit them? Really? Man, I just don't get it. What does this guy even play to have this mentality while playing a fucking action game that focuses on combat?
That said, there was one upside to playing the game on hard and then later on normal. That being the realization that enemies have way too much health even on normal mode.
No dude, it's not like that. You just don't know how to play this game. Do I really have to remember you that you don't even know how to do a basic combo with a Leviathan axe?
What the hell were they thinking that every single enemy in the game takes at least 6 hits to kill from the motherfucking God of War?
He also keeps using this from the God of War sentence as if that makes his complaints have any actual sense. My dude, if you really want to feel like Kratos, just pick the give me a story difficulty and shut up already.
Now again, once you have runic attacks and all these different weapon buffs and things, that isn't really the case anymore. In fact, by the end of the game, I was pretty much just swapping between my 3 weapons, spamming the light and heavy runic attacks, and everything was dead. So the combat was still fun.
See what I mean? It's like this guy can only have fun if the game treats him like a baby and lets him get away with lame play. Like, that explains why he enjoyed more Elden Ring than this game. So it begs the question, why isn't he playing on easy mode like he did in Elden Ring, instead of pretending he's actually good at this game and getting his ass handed to himself in hard mode?
I think in a full-blown RPG, which I wouldn't consider this one, it is an action game with light RPG mechanics, but a full-blown RPG like Dragon's Dogma, which I actually played a little bit of directly after I finished this game on stream. In the early game, enemies do feel like they have too much health because your attack is too low, but that's built into the game's systems, so that once you're level 50 and have better gear, you can kill all those pussy-ass enemies in one hit. There isn't really an equivalent in God of War. There's only one time during the game's story where they purposely throw enemies with less health at you to make you feel powerful, and that was one of my favorite encounters in the game.
Synthetic Man, listen to me. I'm gonna teach you a little secret. This game has everything you are asking for. You just have to do the following. Go to the main menu, select New Game, and then pick this option here. You're gonna love the game now, I promise you.
Enemy behind you, Kratos! Behind you, look out! Right side!
You're on fire, Kratos! It won't pass!
These stats attached to armor seem to have a very minor influence on your overall stats. Someone actually did testing for the original game and found this out, and it seems like they haven't changed anything.
Okay, what? Excuse me, what? Do you mind maybe providing some proof of that? Yeah guys, some random dude told me the stats on the armors of God of War Ragnarok are useless and I believe him guys, you should believe him too. Oh, come on dude. This is getting so ridiculous. This review is garbage. It's so bad, oh my god. Fuck you, Synthetic Man. You can literally double the damage of your physical attacks if you upgrade the strength stat. Just take a look at this clip. But according to this guy, that matters very little. If you increase your vitality, you can pretty much double your HP and rage, but according to this guy, that matters very little. If you increase your cooldown, you can pretty much triple the speed at which your runic attacks recharge after using them, but according to this guy, that matters very little. This is such an ignorant and disingenuous review, man. This is so sad and so wrong.
Once again, it feels like this game was designed primarily for casual gamers, people who don't care about stats or numbers or min-maxing. You just equip the gear that has the highest number and move on.
Oh my god. Alright, let me get this straight. The guy that can do a basic combo with the Leviathan axe. The same guy that can't wrap his head around the idea of an enemy retaliating when he attacks them, and also the same guy that has no idea at all on how the stats and enchantments work, is saying that this game is for casuals? Like, I can't, man. I just can't. I'm doing my best to take this seriously, but there simply is no way someone can take this seriously. This guy has to be trolling at this point. Like, I just don't get any of this. I am at a loss for words here. If this game is for casuals, you should be loving it, Synthetic Man. You are the textbook definition of what a casual gamer is. Like, am I supposed to believe you are an actual competent player after listening to this monstrosity of a review and watching this god-awful gameplay? Like, the lack of self-awareness on this guy is actually concerning. This has to be the greatest projection I have ever seen, man. Like, there are no words that can possibly describe the irony on this clip. Look, I know that after showcasing how this guy fights a berserker, this would be like beating a dead horse, but I feel the need to show more of how this guy plays for the sake of emphasizing how ironic this is.
The auto-targeting is pissing me off. I know I can lock on, but I don't know. Yeah, just, ignore a parry. That's good game design.
This is a fine mess.
Okay, I need to breathe, because the silent rage is worse than the loud rage. I'm getting the silent rage where I literally am just seething and can't focus, because if this is a 10 out of 10 to people. That's repeating in my head over and over again. And some retard is gonna be like, the skill issue, the skill issue. The game is just being a cunt for no reason. I'm not supposed to say that word on YouTube, but that's exactly what's happening. Look, the input reading. Input reading. Proved right there. Input reading. This is bullshit. This is fucking horseshit. So now that we've talked about combat pretty thoroughly.
Pretty thoroughly? Oh my god! Oh my god. Yeah, Synthetic Man. That was as thoroughly as it gets. I 100% agree. Jesus Christ, this fucking review is gonna be the end of me.
It's time we talk about level design. Stop me if you've heard this one before. It's a set of combat arenas connected with linear hallways. Everything that's in between a combat encounter is either a puzzle or a minor optional little side pathway that has a treasure chest at the end. I know a shit ton of you are gonna have no problem with this whatsoever. You might not even notice that it's all a bunch of linear hallways.
That is so disingenuous and oversimplifying. Holy crap. There is so much creativity and variety to the level design of this game. Especially in the optional areas. There are traversal sections, more linear paths that branch out to hidden locations and sometimes to new areas, semi-open world sections that give you a lot of freedom to explore. There is a lot to it. But to say that it's just a bunch of corridors and combat arenas with some puzzles in between is so delusional. But then again, I just don't understand what it is that this guy wants for level design. If you give him a linear path that branches out to several other areas and has secrets in it, he complains it's just a bunch of hallways. If you give him semi-open world exploration, he complains it's just a hidden loading screen.
The mini sandboxes are just islands connected by a glorified loading screen.
If you give him a fully fledged open world, he complains it's too big. Like, I'm not even joking, look at this.
But at the same time, the problem with this is less to do with the activities themselves and simply the size of the world. The world of Elden Ring is too goddamn big. Way too big.
I just don't understand this guy. It's like he's just complaining for the sake of complaining. He hates everything and can't enjoy anything. And then he tries to portray a 4 minute on rails cutscene as the entire experience that the level design in the game has to offer.
Hey, Michael. Yeah? Try going right.
Safe and serene.
Am I supposed to laugh at this or something? God damn it, dude. The level of disingenuity and falsehood on this review is pathetic.
If you see a treasure chest right across an invisible wall that you could just feasibly jump over, which of course you can't fucking jump in half of modern games either, which is just bizarre. Everything feels like a hallway in a circle and a hallway in a circle in this game.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop fucking lying.
I'm just asking for a little bit more player interactivity, a little bit more actual control over the game.
Synthetic Man, have you ever considered, maybe have you ever thought about, I don't know, what the focus of this game is? Like, you know, maybe it's the combat? Who cares if you can jump over a bunch of rubble in a game that is all about the combat, dude? That wouldn't make any difference at all. That wouldn't make the game any better. You already have all the control over the game that you'll ever want during combat, because that's what the game focuses on. That makes no fucking sense at all.
Player choice, right? I know it's a bit of a meme term.
You already have plenty of player choice during combat, dude. Shut up! Oh my god! The only meme in here is this joke of a review. This is the equivalent of complaining that you can't get on the top of every building or object that you see in Doom Eternal. The game is not about that, dude. Jesus Christ. This guy has no idea what he's talking about.
So we might as well talk about the puzzles too. I fucking hate the puzzles.
Agreed. But let's be honest here, who cares about some puzzles? They are always a hit or a miss depending on the individual. So yeah, I'm skipping his rant about the puzzles.
And do you want to know why the developers did this? You'll never believe it. It's because of Dark Side Phil, DSP. And if you don't know who it is, it's not worth explaining to you. But let's just say he's one of the worst gamers of all time. He is notoriously horrible at every video game he plays.
The projection here is powerful. Notoriously horrible at every video game he plays? I wonder where I have seen that before. My dude, every time that I go watch your streams on this game and you're getting your ass handed to you, people are always comparing you to DSP. Is it any wonder why? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending DSP here. DSP sucks, but you're not really much better than him, considering DSP beat Elden Ring without summons and you didn't.
Another guy hits me while I'm recalling my axe. I can't block. The enemies... Every enemy is stronger than Kratos. Every individual enemy is stronger than Kratos. This is so shitty. This is so shitty. Alright, fighting the Berserker bosses. I don't know where they are. I'm sure they'll be annoying. I actually didn't even... So now it's finally time to get to the story. As you can probably tell by how much is left of the video, I had a lot to say, and most of it is not positive.
Okay, so from this point on, he's gonna start talking about the story. I'm not really gonna cover the whole thing about the story for 3 reasons. Number 1 being that this guy's stupidity is already causing me some severe brain cancer. Number 2, I don't want this video to end up being like 1.5 hours long. And number 3, ultimately I do have my own gripes with the story of this game. I think it has some flaws, but I wanna discuss that in another video of my own, not here. However, that doesn't mean that I agree with Synthetic Man at all on any of this. This review so far has been revoltingly bad, and believe me, it's not about to get better. So yeah, Let's proceed now to address some of the most ridiculous criticism that Synthetic Man has to offer with regards to the story of God of War Ragnarok.
And there's a reason that non-Sony fans call these games movie games, because they really are fucking movies. 70% of this game is some type of cutscene.
Bullshit, plain and simple. We already discussed this. If you skip the cutscenes, which I'm aware is not possible at the moment for some pretentious reason from Santa Monica Studios, but that they will be skippable in the future 100%, all those walking in a straight line sections that you complained so much about are at the best at 10% of the game. So yeah, go try. Also, what the hell is this? Me reading chat, not even looking at the screen. Sony made a truly compelling game here. I mean, the game is compelling, my dude. You're just a petty contrarian that thinks shitting on a perfectly fine game is base and makes him look cool. Not to mention, you are a horrible and utterly incompetent player at said game. Also, do you even realize that by putting these texts in here, you are pretty much proving that you weren't paying attention to the story at all? Thanks for making the obvious more obvious, Synthetic Man.
Down to some of the QuickTime events not even being real QuickTime events.
Keyword, some.
As in, you cannot fail them. Okay, you don't want me to hit the prompts, right? Oh, no, you have infinite time, don't you? Yeah, oh my god. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10. Every game Sony makes is a fucking masterpiece.
God, that's so sad. Do you guys hear like he fakes a chuckle there at the end of that clip? It's like this dude really thinks he's funny. And is he seriously making a fuss and trying to portray a quick time event not having a time limit to complete it as some kind of major flaw in the game? Like, dude, what do you expect? Were you expecting for that Dragon Lord to cut Atreus' head off or something? He's a kid, man. That would be extremely messed up. Is everything alright with your head, Synthetic Man? I have to say you are into some weird stuff. Also, wasn't he going to talk about the story? Quicktime events are part of the gameplay. This guy is all over the place. Just press square and shut up, man.
It doesn't even matter because despite literally being given a waifu, he doesn't show any sexual interest in her whatsoever.
Wait, what? He doesn't show what? Dude, they are kids. Those two are like 13 or 14. Where are you going with all of this, Synthetic Man? Now this review is not only trash, but it's also creepy. Jesus Christ.
It turns out in the time between games, Atreus and Kratos have literally just been hiding in their house, waiting for the world to end. I wish I was fucking joking. But yes, despite an apocalyptic winter coming to Midgard, the heroes do nothing.
I mean, Kratos was focused on training Atreus because he knows the Acer will come after them sooner or later. And it's also revealed like 1 hour later that Atreus has been looking for Tyr on his own to stop the end of the world, so... Excuse me? What is your point? And what were you expecting Kratos to do in the first place? You act like he is in a foreigner that has no knowledge whatsoever on the prophecies of the Northlands. Like, really, what do you want him to do?
It turns out that Freya has been trying to kill Kratos for the last 4 years, but despite knowing exactly where he lives, she somehow has failed every time.
I mean, Kratos has Atreus with him, and also you have to consider that Freya just isn't strong enough to kill Kratos. He doesn't want to hurt her, so he just shoves her aside every time they run into her.
Despite the game trying to tell us that Freya is totally a threat, guys, she's a super badass, she could probably even take Kratos.
Oh boy, you're missing the whole point, dude. The game is not trying to tell you that Freya is a threat or that she can take Kratos out. What the game is trying to tell you is that Kratos is conflicted about having to fight Freya and he holds back or is reluctant to hurt her every time they see her. Do you realize she's the one who saved his son's life in the previous game? How can he not be hesitant about having to fight her? Then again, this guy doesn't care about the story on this game or the previous one, and it's apparent that he wasn't paying attention judging by how much he already got wrong in like the 2 minutes that he's been talking about the story. So yeah, why do I even bother? Let me just be done with this already.
So the story really begins with Fenrir dying. You can consider this the first of many Ryan Johnson-esque subversion moments in this story. Because if you know anything about Ragnarok from actual Norse mythology, you know Fenrir is a big part of it.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm an expert in mythology, but I'm pretty sure Poseidon was a big part of the Greek mythology, and that guy got taken down in like 10 minutes of starting God of War 3. Magni and Modi are also a big part of Norse mythology, and they are dead in this story, so that doesn't tell me anything, dude. It doesn't. I'm sorry. Also, I find it funny how he tries to make himself look like knowledgeable about storytelling and whatnot by mentioning that Ryan Johnson's subversion or whatever thing, but instead he just comes across as pretentious.
And this is the second major point of subversion, because despite God of War 2018 building up Odin and especially Thor as being like these badass super powerful guys, Odin looks like a frail old man and sounds like a snake oil salesman.
The thing about Odin in this game is that he's supposed to be deceiving and cunning. Duh.
And some people have implied that he's supposed to be a Trump allegory, but I will give the developers the benefit of the doubt this time and just say he's supposed to be some generic fascist smooth talker, I guess. And you play as Atreus for roughly half the game, and his gameplay segments are the worst. They're completely fucking brain dead. It basically turns the game into a third-person shooter, where you just charge up elemental arrows, and then charge up normal arrows, and the game has such generous aim assist that you don't even feel like you're playing the fucking game.
I mean, you can say the same about Kratos' gameplay. Kratos has arguably stronger range attacks than Atreus, but downright saying that Atreus' gameplay is just brainless arrow shooting is so stupid, man. You're just putting as little effort into learning Atreus' gameplay as you did with Kratos and trying to push a narrative. That's all there is to it, really. And why is this guy talking about the gameplay again? Isn't he supposed to be talking about the story now? He's so messy and all over the place.
I purposely didn't talk about Atreus during the combat section because it would be purely negative. Even on hard mode, his segments were completely fucking brain dead. I think I only died one time, and it's because I wasn't paying attention.
No. You only died once because you were taking 15 minutes per fight running and spamming projectiles, playing like a pussy instead of actually trying to learn Atreus' gameplay. Imagine saying that the gameplay is boring and brainless when you refuse to learn how to play and use the combat mechanics that the game provides you. And again, this is the same guy that was complaining a while ago about not having enough combat mechanics at the beginning of the game. The irony is astonishing.
And one of the major themes of the game reveals itself being that Kratos is an overprotective father, and despite being the god of war, he doesn't want war, which actually doesn't make any sense given what we saw at the beginning of the game when Kratos refuses Odin's offering of peace.
I mean, why would Kratos ever accept an offering of peace, and especially one coming from the king of the Aesir himself? He's done nothing to them. He has no reason to accept a peace treaty with anyone. Every Aesir that died in the previous game brought it upon themselves. And I think it's pretty evident that Kratos has plenty of reasons for not trusting gods, and even more for someone as infamous as Odin. It's like this guy is not only incapable of learning basic combat mechanics in an action game, but he's also incapable of understanding basic context in storytelling.
But Atreus sneaks off anyway to go try and make peace with Freya, and this whole plotline's fucking stupid. They killed her son. There's no fucking way Freya would ever team up with Kratos.
You mean her son who was a fucking lunatic and whom Freya is responsible for him being a lunatic in the first place? Like, dude, there is so much to it than just them killing her son, but whatever, Synthetic Man needs to push a narrative, so of course he's gonna paint it as black and white as possible.
And funny enough, I actually forgot what happened in the next couple hours of gameplay. I had to review my footage because I literally forgot why the crew then goes to Alfheim.
Dude, come on. We all know why you forget what happened next. You weren't paying attention, as simple as that. And we all know by this point that your attention span is that of a goldfish, so even if you paid attention, you would have forgotten anyways.
The Light Elves are bad too. Everyone's a bad guy in war, who would have thought? Are the developers trying to tell me that Ukraine aren't the universal good guys who are gonna save the world and defeat those evil fascists in Russia? I'm surprised that somebody hasn't tried to cancel Sony Santa Monica for this. Kratos obviously does not like the idea of this, again, now that he's a cartoonishly overprotective father. And so the writers decided we don't have enough forced melodrama yet, so we get a kind of bizarre moment.
So basically, what this guy is trying to say here is everything that doesn't match my line of thinking or preferences is either cartoonish, forced, or melodramatic. I mean, what can I say? I think that scene was great and nothing else, dude. Man, the self-centeredness in this guy is actually perplexing. Seriously, I don't think I can handle much more of this brain-rotting mess of a review, so I'm gonna be wrapping this up soon.
Am I the only one who thinks Sindri is like a groomer or a pedophile or something? Every single time Atreus is by himself, Sindri is also there as like a creepy, tiny old man, encouraging all the strange whims that Atreus has against his father. Kinda reminds me of certain Discord communities.
That coming from the guy who complained that a pair of 13, 14-year-old kids didn't show any sexual interest in each other sure is rich. Projection match, maybe?
Angrboda is a completely fucking pointless character. She does nothing of relevance in the plot except give Loki a bag of marbles. You cannot tell me with a straight face that this character wasn't added just for the sake of diversity. You know it was. Why, of all cultures, of all mythologies, would Northern Europe, possibly the whitest place on Earth, have black characters?
My dude, you have to consider something here. God of War has never been about depicting mythology accurately. They only take inspiration from it. And that's the truth. They can and have always interpreted mythology with plenty of freedom, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a skin color, so grow up and move on.
Well, it doesn't matter because I'm a bigot for asking. I'm a racist for even noticing in the first place.
Why are you so fixated in the skin color of a character in the first place?
This is Kingdom Hearts level. Oh, the giant voodoo black woman throws.
Why are you still talking about the skin color of these characters? I mean, it's funny how this guy makes a satire about how people are so sensitive with these kinds of topics, but he just doesn't seem to be able to shut up about it. It's as if he truly hated black people. It's so bizarre. Again, the lack of self-awareness on this guy is astonishing.
And once we arrive at Freyr's camp, we find out that the boar that you kill in the beginning of the first game didn't die and is in fact a random black guy.
Why do you keep bringing this up? Are you really that triggered by the skin color of a fictional character?
And there's nothing about this that is God of War. You don't kill her at the end. You don't even, like, maim her in some way. No, there's just some weird message about how Angrboda will always be in Atreus' shadow. Just a minor character in his story. Kinda based. This is simultaneously both hilarious and extremely cringe. If you didn't cringe at this, you are woke beyond any recovery. There is no hope for you.
I have a feeling if these two characters weren't black, he wouldn't even be complaining about them in the first place. He wouldn't call them cringe and he would even say that he enjoyed their screen time.
This is awful and you know it. And you just can't admit it because you don't want to be called racist. It's that simple.
What does racism have to do with any of this? By saying this, you are literally admitting that your only problem with these characters is their skin color. I wish I was fucking joking.
Atreus dodges the question and implies that Kratos needs protecting, not him. Are they completely retconning the end of the first game? We already saw the prophecy where Kratos dies during Ragnarok. That was literally the last thing that happened at the end of the first game.
I don't get it. Isn't he disproving his own critique here? Why even put it in the video in the first place then? Jesus Christ, this guy is so lazy he can't even be bothered to remove a clip that makes absolutely no sense. This dude is just wasting our time at this point.
But it turns out it was Freya, as Freya is the real queen of the Valkyries, not Sigrun. It wasn't enough that she's a super powerful mage who could revive a massive giant. No, she's also a combat expert on par with Kratos as she nearly kills him. Fuck this feminist bullshit, dude. I'm so tired of this.
I mean, what's the problem with Freya having magic powers and also being capable of fighting? It's not like we haven't seen any other characters being capable of the same, like, you know, Zeus?
Excellent, child! I will tolerate your insolence no more!
Thor?
About time. I've been waiting for this. You're not from here.
Odin?
Was this everything you hoped for? Was your plan really all that much better than mine?
So what's the problem with them? Why are you not also complaining about them trying to push some kind of political agenda down your throat? Oh wait, that's right, because they are not women. Do you realize how stupid this whole thing sounds? Like, dude, this is ridiculous. I'm getting some insane incel vibes here.
And during this entire segment, Atreus is emasculated by multiple characters, not just Thor, who's obviously much bigger and stronger, but Thor's daughter Thrud also is bigger and stronger than him. And Sif, even though she does literally nothing, is also much bigger than him, so Atreus just looks small and weak.
Why are you comparing the height of a 14-year-old kid with that of an adult warrioress and complaining that the kid looks small and weak? Like, why? What's even the point here? It's like this guy expects every woman in the world to be 1.50 m or something. Does he even know that tall women exist? And was he seriously expecting Atreus to be 1.80 m at 13 or 14 years old? Where is he trying to go with all of this? This guy was seriously expecting Atreus to look like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventures character in this game. What the fuck? Also, have you seen how tall Thrud's father is? He's like 4 meters tall, for fuck's sake. Why are you even surprised that she's big too? Okay people, this is as far as I go. There is only so much stupidity someone can take at a time, and I for sure have reached my limit for now. Okay, so what did we learn today? This guy is like the personification of the saint that goes, if you can be an example, be a warning. So remember folks, if you ever feel down or something in your life happens that makes you think you're not very smart or that you are dumb, remember that there are people like this synthetic man dude on the internet. That should make you feel a lot better about yourself. Man, the fact that this review is getting somewhat of a positive reception blows my mind. To be honest, I have to say that the God of War fans and community are kinda sad. They get a huge new game with 60 to 70 hours of pure good content, excellent gameplay, excellent story, excellent visuals, and excellent music, and then they get this random contrarian weirdo shitting and lying all over it, and they just agree with him. I find that to be so extremely sad, dude. Seriously, God of War community, you need to know better than this. And for Synthetic Man himself, if you ever see this, hey man, all I can say is that this was quite a ride. Continue making vomitive reviews like this. It's really entertaining to laugh at trash like this and seeing others also make fun of it. And yeah folks, that's gonna be all for now. This was quite a long video, and if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. And if you would like to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. This was Mabel HQ, the pro gamer, and I'll be seeing you soon.